Today I'm going to share with you guys the read-alouds that we did with my daughter when she was in 3rd grade. So this was our 4th year doing homeschooling and our 4th year doing read-alouds. So I'm going to show you guys inside these books a little bit and talk about them a little bit, and I would love to hear in the comments below what read-alouds are your favorites or what you're reading right now with your kids out loud. So the first book we read when my daughter was in 3rd grade was Little Town on the Prairie. So we had read all of the previous Little House books, so we were just continuing on with the series. So this is the 7th one, and Laura is almost 15, so she is a teenager in this book. She's growing up, and she gets a job in town and things like that. She's still going to school. So it continues the story. Again, this is based on real people and real events, although it is somewhat fictionalized. Again, the illustrations by Garth Williams, and we just love these books. And there aren't as many illustrations in the later ones as there are in the earlier ones, but this was made for older children versus the first few, which were made for younger children. So we love these books. Sometimes there's long descriptions, like here. There's a lot of description about the dresses, so sometimes we'll skip the descriptions. See here, you can see it just talks for a long time about how the dress was made. But we love these books, and that was the first one we read, and then we just went right on to These Happy Golden Years. So this is the one where Laura is teaching school. She has her romance with Almanzo, and they get married at the end. And so that is what this is about. More about Laura. And there is actually a 9th book, but I haven't read that one to the kids because I'll show it to you. The first 4 years. So this one is smaller if you look at the size of the other ones. This one's smaller, and it's really just a rough draft. It was never published back when the other ones came out, and it's just not a finished book. So it's like a rough draft. Laura had never published it, and so it just has a different feel, in my opinion, than the other ones. So we didn't read this one, but we enjoyed the first 8 very much. And you know, of course, you can read it with your kids if you're interested, but it just has a different feel, in my opinion, so we didn't read this one. So we finished the whole series, at least up to this one, the ones that were actually published during her lifetime. So we really enjoyed them. So the next book we read was The Secret Garden. Now this one here doesn't have illustrations, but the one that we read out of did. And this one's just a classic children's book. It's full of mystery and interesting things. She finds the secret garden. She finds her cousin who was hidden away in the house. And I like that the main character in here grows. She starts off very selfish, and she changes as the story continues. Very interesting, and there are some movies, several different movies based on this book. We really enjoyed this one. And then we read A Little Princess by the same author, Frances Hodgson Burnett. Excellent story. Very famous classic children's book. This one also has a movie. I think it's on YouTube. We actually watched the movie after reading the book, as well as we watched the movie for The Secret Garden as well after reading the book. This one's falling to pieces because my daughter loves it so much. Just really good lessons in here, and just a very interesting story about a girl who was rich and then she became very poor, and her trials that she went through and how things work out in the end. So there are some illustrations in here, but I can't find them right now. But these 2 books are excellent. Really like these ones, and I like how the characters grow in their character. So the next book we read was Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, and I feel like this book is similar to, let's say, Anne of Green Gables. I feel like their characters are somewhat of a similar kind of character. So this one also is a classic, Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. And then we read Adam of the Road, and this one's set in like 1294, something like that. So you have castles and bards, and it's just an interesting story set in that time where there's cathedrals and monks and things, I believe. So there's some adventures in here. So we read that one, and then we also read Caddy Woodlawn, and I love Caddy Woodlawn. It is based on true events, and I just love books that are based on true events and about true people, and it's just really, really interesting. It's just a very, very interesting book, and the kids love it. There's also a movie based on this book, and I'm going to move over to the computer and show you guys some of the other books we read. Now, the reason I'm going to the computer is that we read them online, and we read them on a website called openlibrary.org, and I'll put a link for that below. And they have a lot of books on there, from particularly older books that are in the public domain, and they have the complete books online, and I will show you. They are scanned from original books, and I love that. So I'm going to head on over to the computer and show you the other books we read for this school year. So the next book we read was The Story of the Treasure Seekers, Being the Adventures of the Bastable Children in Search of a Fortune by Edith Nesbit. And this one we loved. This is over 100 years old, and it is about 6 children and their father who have become poor. And so in each chapter, the children are trying to come up with ways to seek for treasure, to earn some money to help the family because they are poor. It's funny and very interesting, and the children really enjoyed this one a great deal. So as you can see, this is from openlibrary.org, and this is a scan of an original book, and I love that. So The Story of the Treasure Seekers. We love this one. And after that we read The Would-Be-Goods by Edith Nesbit, and this is the next story after that last one about the Bastable children. And in this story, the 6 children decide that they are going to try to be good. So they have a society that they make called the Would-Be-Goods, and in every chapter they try so hard to do something good, but it always turns out horribly wrong in the end. It gets them into trouble, but they're trying so hard to be good, and there's a lot of funny chapters in here, and the kids just love this book, The Would-Be-Goods. So that's the second in this series. The next one in this series is called New Treasure Seekers, because in this one they again try to earn some money to help out a lady who they think is poor. So this just continues on the story of the Bastables, the 6 children in one family. And there is also another Bastable story, which is called Oswald Bastable and Others, I think, by Edith Nesbit. And there's 4 chapters in there about the Bastables. So we love this series here. They're older, they're over 100 years old, so the language is, it's older, it's a little harder to read aloud, but for me it was totally worth it, and the kids loved them. So we also read on openlibrary.org, Magical Melons, more stories about Caddy Woodlawn. So after we read Caddy Woodlawn, which we loved, we read this one. Now I like Caddy Woodlawn better, because this one is more like each chapter is its own individual story, but we liked it as well. And then lastly, we read Peter Pan. And this is an old copy, so this one's called Peter and Wendy. But we did read this one. And if you've seen the movie, I'm sure you guys have all seen the movie that it's based upon. That's what this is. And if you've never read the book, it's very, very interesting and exciting. I did find it slightly violent in parts for a child's book, but the kids loved it anyway. They didn't care. Very interesting. So those are the books we read for my daughter in 3rd grade in our 4th year of homeschooling. So I hope you guys enjoyed looking at these books and hearing about them. And again, I would love to hear what your favorite read-alouds are and what you're reading right now with your kids. So thank you so much for watching and have a great day.